about a week before Expo West started, this would have been the previous Wednesday, the 26th, something like that, I got an email from one of Unilever's main trade show exhibit houses saying they were pulling all their brands out of Natural Products Expo West. One of the new brands they'd acquired in the last couple of years was Schmidt's Natural. Schmidt's has been a client of ours here at TradeshowGuy Exhibits for many years, but that is changing. They're going over to this new group. And so I thought, well, I better check with Schmidt's. Maybe they're still in the show. Maybe they're not. I checked with them. And they said, yeah, we're pulling out. A couple days later, I got emails from two other clients. We're pulling out too. It's the coronavirus, the concerns, and all of that. Dave's Killer Bread is gone. Bob's Red Mill is gone. By Monday, I only had one client that had said, yes, we're still going. This was the middle of the day Monday. We could go today. Would have been the 2nd. I was scheduled to leave the office at about 2 and head to the airport in Portland and fly out that afternoon. And then as I'm sitting in the airplane, waiting just, to take off, basically, I checked my email and my texts last time, and the text from the client Organic said, we're pulling out. And then like 5 minutes later, an email from the organizers at Expo West, the show is canceled. And here I am in the airplane. Hey, it's Tim Patterson. This is Trade Show Monday Morning Coffee. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Yes, last week was kind of a weird week. The show was postponed, according to the email, not canceled. And everyone I know in the industry says, how do you not cancel a show and say you're going to postpone it? Because there's nowhere else it's going to land, because you've got 3,500 exhibitors that are, trying to figure out how they can schedule it. And the organizers obviously had to find a place for it, whether it's Anaheim or Las Vegas or wherever. And they want to do it before summer. There's so many unanswered questions. And of course, I always say, and I blogged about this, I think I put something in the blog, at Trade Show Guy blog last week. There was like the underlying concern about the coronavirus is not going to get better. Everything we've read, I'm sure you've read the same thing, is it's getting worse. In fact, as I'm recording this on Monday morning, the 9th, I got 2 alerts from my phone that said the stock market's crashing. They've closed everything down. I just don't see that the show is going to go on. They say, we'll enhance Expo East, and that may be the case. But then my question is this going to be over by then? I would say probably not. There's going to be a lot of shows that are canceled. South by Southwest got canceled, and there's a lot of fallout from that. Some shows will go on, some will not. How do you continue to do things? Put on rock concerts and events and so on and so forth. It's just, And not only that, Monday, I said Monday was kind of weird. I had all this stuff coming in, like we're not going to be there, and I was wondering whether I should go and all that stuff. And I was standing in the kitchen, microwaving some coffee to heat it up, and I realized, I never do this, I actually put my hydro flask with the plastic into the microwave. I wasn't even thinking about it. I nuked that and nuked my cup. Like I said, last Monday was kind of a weird day. And the week was, weird. The next day, Tuesday morning, I had a handful of clients that had all their crates on the floor and boxes and things. And so I kind of ran back and forth between show services and at the convention center and getting everything set for shipping out and putting boxes into crates and all that sort of stuff. Because, frankly, the clients didn't send anybody. They didn't have anybody on the ground to do all that, which left it on me. And I was happy to do it. I was glad to do it because, you like to help your clients. You want to be helpful. And we got all that solved. A big shout out to the crew at the GES service desk at Anaheim. More than helpful, extraordinarily helpful, and very pleasant. And they had a lot of people there, hundreds of people coming and going. That wasn't really crushing, that 1 or 2 times there was maybe 6 or 8 people in line. But most of the time it was, a minute, you wait a minute. But they, again, were very helpful. They had answers. They knew how things work there. And also a shout out to John at Transgroup in Portland as well. They did the shipping out and the scheduling of the pickups and stuff. So there I was in Los Angeles, staying in an Airbnb, all paid for the week, an airplane flight that I bought cheap. And so if I paid for a change to come back early, I could probably change the day on the Airbnb and get a bit of a refund, but I'd have to pay extra to move the flight, no doubt. I had a rental car booked, paid for the week. I thought, you know what? I have a lot of friends here, or a handful that I want to see, and I never have time to see them. So I started making calls, and I ended up doing some interesting things. So I thought, you know what, for this quick little podcast / video blog, I'm going to do a bit of a travel log after the show is over. We'll do a slideshow. I'll throw some slides in here. So on Wednesday, I had lunch with an old friend of mine that I actually had on the podcast here several months ago, Jay Gilbert. He's been in the music industry down there, done quite well for himself. Very successful, has his own business now after 6 or so years. Working with artists. He had great stories to share. We hadn't seen each other for, I want to say, 30 plus years. Guitar player, used to be in bands as a kid, as I was as well, but he went into the music industry, spent time in Seattle, Sacramento, San Francisco, been in LA for quite some time, up north of LA, up at Simi Valley. As I'm pulling off to go to his place, I see the sign, Ronald Reagan Presidential Library. So I asked him about it. He says, yeah, it's great. Air Force One's there and everything. You should go see it. So, of course, having lots of time to kill, I went over to the Presidential Library, as you can see from some of these photos here, and got to take a look at that. Interesting. I liked it. I wasn't a big Reagan fan, but yeah, that's neither here nor there. History is what it is, and it's always interesting to see that. And then I went to see my cousin Drew, dropped in on him for about an hour. He is working at Entercom Radio, big corporate radio, been there for quite some time, production guy, on-air assist guy at times. When I was there, he was kind of on-air assisting, running the board, making sure things were working at Jack FM, kind of a all-hit station with a bit of an attitude. KROQ is there, Earth 101, maybe 10 other stations in one location on Wilshire Boulevard. So got a nice tour of the place, thanks to Drew. Then over to visit a friend I always see when I go to town. It's the only time I see him is Roger Steffens, the author, speaker, Bob Marley, historian, all-around good guy. I got to have dinner with Roger and his wife, Mary. Now, Roger, I could go on forever about Roger, but you might check out his Instagram feed, The Family Acid, Instagram.com/TheFamilyAcid. He has tens of thousands of images he's taken over the years, slides that have been digitized, and his daughter Kate is now rolling them out a couple at a time on Instagram. And he's published several books. He's one of the old original hippies. Toured with Bob Marley for a short time. Did the reggae beat on KCRW in Los Angeles for a very long time. And as I was there, I told him what was going on. I had all this free time, and Mary says, "Have you been to Joshua Tree?" And I said, I haven't. So I looked it up, and it's a couple hours east of where I was. I thought, well, tomorrow's a good day for that. I have nothing else to do. So I went out to Joshua Tree National Park, and that, again, was a gas. Got out of the car 2 or 3 times and took like a mile walk here and a half a mile walk there, and some of the little trails you could go around, and took a lot of pictures. Joshua Tree, beautiful day out there. It was warm but not hot, probably 70 degrees or so. Next day, I had lunch with an old friend, Paul Jackson, another radio guy, that I worked with for a couple of years in Salem back in like early 80s. And he's been, in 83, he decided, I'm going to go be in the movie business because I want to be a writer. I want to write TV and movies. And so he moved down there, and he's had a pretty good career down there for almost 4 decades. Also had him on the podcast. I'll put that in the show links, and he had interesting stories to tell as well. Good storyteller, and that's why I had him on the podcast, because I wanted to hear his take on how the movie industry worked. I didn't know much about that. So anyway, on and on and on. Saturday, I had lunch with a cousin I had seen in a year or two, not since my mom turned 90 in 2018. She's in San Bernardino. She's in the medical field. We gave IHOP a little business there. And then as I was driving back, I went, wait a minute, there's another presidential library. The Richard Nixon Presidential Library there in Yorba Linda. Fascinating. Nixon, of course, was a very polarizing and interesting figure in American history. The only one to resign from office because he was about to be impeached and convicted. That's what everyone told him. So he left. Interesting exhibit. I really was impressed with the exhibit. And being in the exhibit industry and actually working for a company for years that did a lot of those types of exhibits, very impressed. A lot of stock stuff, a lot of interesting things, some really neat tech stuff, audio visual things. I really enjoyed both the Nixon Presidential Library and the Reagan Presidential Library. I would say having the Air Force One at the Reagan kind of gave that the better of the two. But I think as the exhibits went and the story that's told it was better at the Nixon Presidential Library, and they didn't pull any punches on the whole Watergate thing. They had a long exhibit on that. You'll see some pictures here in my sort of travelogue there. Finally got out of that, went back to the Airbnb in Santa Ana, nice little place I was staying, and finally got on the airplane late Saturday night. So, yeah, this week's trade show tip, it's a good question. How about this? John Lennon quote, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. And if you had a trade show scheduled and you don't know for sure, got to learn how to go with the flow, I guess. And also this week's one good thing, frankly, being on the road with free time. I used to go to locations when I was working for the other company, Interpretive Exhibits, and I booked my travel and everything. And so I'd always book an extra day at the end of like a 4 or 5 day trade show so that I could have an extra day to see the country around there, and especially on the East Coast, Washington, D.C., Boston. I'd always book an extra day, and I would spend that day exploring the countryside and the city and wherever I was. And so, being on the road with free time is this week's one good thing. Hey, have yourself a great week. We'll do it again next week here as March progresses and time marches on here. This is, of course, the Trade Show Guy Monday Morning Coffee. I'm Tim Patterson. See me at TradeshowGuy.net. You'll find it all right there.